Hello, this is Aayushman and welcome to World Updates. So, in the midst of the pandemic, we are all worried about COVID 19, what will be the vaccination for COVID 19, the lockdown, and all those things. But there is something going on in the background which might kill us in the long term, which is a silent killer, as we know. Now, that is the decrement in bee population. Now, you might be asking yourself, bee population? Why bee population? Why are bees so important and why are they dying? So today we are going to answer all of those questions. So first let's try to answer the question, why are bees so important? So bees are important because bees help us in two things, pollination and honey making, because as they move from one flower to the another, they carry the pollen grains and of course they suck the nectar which is converted to honey in their hives. Now 80% of all insect pollinated flowers are pollinated by bees. Hence, bees play a very important role in pollinating flowers. Now also 88% of all plants, flowers, trees, whatever, are pollinated by insects. So if you do the maths, it comes down that 68% of every single plant, tree, flower, whatever there is on earth is pollinated by bees. Now, if bees die, which they are at an incredible rate, because some countries have lost their bee count up to 98%. Only 2% of the bees are left, others are dead. So now, if 68% of bees die, that means 68% of all pollination is stopped. That also means that a whole bunch of trees won't be able to produce offsprings, and when they die, they just die. They don't produce anything else. Like if someone doesn't marry someone, then they die. If they die, they don't have any offspring, so their generation does not continue. So the trees don't continue their generation. Hence, if the trees die, the oxygen level will decrease significantly. So 68% of all oxygen will be gone, and basically the equilibrium which we have in nature will be disrupted. So that is why bees are so important, basically the pollination. And with all that oxygen gone, life on earth will be very hard. Also, another factor is that honey. Honey is actually a very important food source for a lot of people. Maybe not for us, but for a lot of people, honey is very important. So we need to take care of that as well. Although honeybees, which produce honey by their name, can be grown and nourished, in artificial ways, but that is not an excuse to go out killing them. But there might be a question, what and who is killing the bees? So we're going to discuss that as well. Why are bees dying, and is anyone actually trying to kill them, or is it just accidental? So now let's see what is it that is killing the bees. So it can't be nature, because even if nature kills the bees can just reproduce within themselves and recycle the hive to be a big hive of bees again. So nature is not killing them. The one or the thing that is killing the bees is us. We human beings are killing the bees at that amount, which we discussed earlier was in some countries up to 98%. Now, we are not doing it intentionally. No one is going out into the wild trying to poke a beehive to kill some bees. That is not what someone is doing. But we are doing it unintentionally. Now, as we know, farmers use pesticides and insecticides to protect their crops from bacteria, pathogens, and then other pesticides. But the farmers apply a lot more of pesticides and insecticides than their average dose. They do this to make sure that every single bacteria gets killed. The problem being that with so much pesticide, with so much chemical, the bees also. Now, we know that bees go from one flower to other. Such the bee dies midway, then the flowers don't get pollinated. And hundreds of bees die this way, because if one bee goes to one flower and then cannot reach the other flower, then it does not bring home the nectar. So another bee follows it, and then it just continues till a lot of bees die. But this only happens in case of, honeybees. And if you are living in Australia or something, or Brazil, even killer bees. So yeah, killer bees and honeybees go out into the wild and then die. Also, native bees do this, but they don't really, make honey, so it's not that big of a deal for them. Now, another thing is forest fires. Forest fires each year kills millions and millions of bees. Because say there is a forest not touched by anyone, a quiet forest, and some campers come one day and light a match somehow, and then the whole forest goes in fire, killing a lot of bees. Now, and killer bees, they don't really kill native bees, because native bees stay underground, so they don't really care about the fire going on above them. But as we know, agricultural waste is thrown out into landfills or rivers, or basically on the soil. So as the pesticides seep into the soil, the native bees also die from these chemicals. So if we don't protect our small friends, we might have to die. So if bees are not treated like actual endangered animals, we might have to suffer. So we should protect bees for our own good. And if we don't do that, it might not go very well. So this has been Aayushman Dash, and we'll see you next time.